Hello and welcome to another episode of Experts Eating Cake. I'm Michelle Thomas and I run the Happy Business Club. And today I have got the most phenomenal expert in the room. We have Louisa Willcox. She is a money mentor who can help you build a rich life. It doesn't matter how much money you've got in your bank account. So let's welcome her on. Come on, Louisa.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm good and I'm really excited.
Yes. Show me how excited you are.
I'm really excited. Woo!
Yeah, do you know what? When I ask my husband how excited he is, he just takes one look at me and goes, So I'm glad you know how to show your excitement. We're going to be eating cake today.
That's why I'm excited. I get cake.
I know, that's why I'm excited. We do talk about cake quite a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Okay, so show me, what cake did you bring today?
Well, I've kind of cheated. It's not a cake per se, but this is one of my favourites. And I even stuck some edible money on it for you as well. Look.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's my most favourite sticky bun in the world. And this is why it's extra special. I can't get my words out. This is why I need cake. I drove like 15 minutes there and back just to get this cake because it has to come from a certain bakery or it's not right. So I even went on a special trip for you today, Michelle.
Do you know what, though? I'm absolutely intrigued by the fact that you've put paper money on.
I'm not going to eat that, Lo. It is edible, but it's rice paper. I don't actually like the rice paper, but of course, being a money mentor, I had to put some money.
Yes, I love it. Total branding. We've got to eat cake, right? I have got you to get tucked into your cake. I'm going to ask you about it in a minute, but today I have got. Let's have a look. A lemon meringue tart. And it's out of date.
Did you get it discounted?
No, because it wasn't out of date when I bought it. But I'm going to eat it anyway. And if I'm poorly, then so be it. I'm sure I will live.
I do also have a really nice strong coffee to go with it.
What's that say? Grab a cup of sunshine.
Yeah.
I have the power of cake.
Obviously.
Yes. I love that mug. I got it off my bestie, my sister-in-law. She bought it for me, and I was very excited. Right, cheers.
Cheers.
Your bun ready? Oh,
I'm gonna be a bit politer and just rip a bit off.
This is so good.
I have a really bad
pie for a very long time.
I've got a bad thing to do with sugar, so it's like one of my addictions, and I try not to have it too often.
Yeah.
There's lots of sugar on this. Is good.
Yeah. But, a little bit of what you fancy. I had a conversation this morning with somebody, and she said, "You eat so much cake. How are you not the size of a house?" I said, "Well, first of all, I had bariatric surgery. Second of all, I don't actually eat that much cake. But it's a matter of having the choice of whether you want to eat the cake or not. This is what food freedom is, isn't it? Do you want to eat the cake? Eat the cake. Eat as much as you want. You don't have to eat the whole cake. You can have a bite and then leave it, and that's fine.
You have to eat the whole cake. Well, once you've started, you've got to commit to it.
Sometimes I have to eat the whole cake. Let me have one more bite.
So I'll tell you a secret about this bakery. A couple of years ago, I actually had a client. This is my accounting business. I had a client who literally was 5 minutes up the road. And it was my job because I got on with the guys in the timber yard really well. And I'm the one who had to do the cake run every time I went into the office. And I went into the office 3 times a week. And we ate a lot of cake. It was not good. When I left, I bumped into them the other day. I think they all lost quite a lot of weight because I wasn't feeding them cake. Why I don't go to the bakery, because I go a lot if I end up getting in that habit.
Yeah, I know. It is quite difficult to stay away from cake. Yeah, very much in the same vein as you. I worked in construction once upon a time in a place where there was something like 1,800 guys. And in the offices, what we used to do, we used to have cake runs as well, usually birthdays. But there were that many people. There was a birthday pretty much every single day. And I used to love going because we worked near Harrods.
Oh, nice.
To go into the cake hall. They had a cake hall in Harrods. We used to get Krispy Kremes. And then we put out a message to everybody saying, Krispy Kremes are in the kitchen, and the next thing you know, literally everybody would be.
You can hear the stampede, can't you, of people running through? Yeah, we had that when I used to work in an office. It was cakes, and you had to get there first, or you got the really crap cakes left at the end. So you always made sure you legged it there, so you didn't get the rubbish like biscuits.
Unless you were the person who went and bought the cakes, and then before you told everybody, you picked the cake that you wanted. So you got first pick. I think that's a good strategy as far as I'm concerned. How is your cake anyway?
It's really good. And I'm trying not to get it
exactly what it is.
I don't know the name of it. It's like a sticky bun. And he did tell me.
Is it a Chelsea bun?
I think it might be a Chelsea bun, but I don't really care. I just go in and I'll have that one, and I want that specific one. Like it can't be, it has to be light in colour. Mm-hmm. So like, because all the others were too dark, and it has to be a certain size, because obviously you want the biggest there. So
yes, yeah. You sound just like my son. Which one's the biggest? That's the one.
I'm worse than my kids. I go in and I'm like, oh, it has to be that one, and it needs to be that one right there.
I'm glad you're not afraid to tell them what you want.
You know me, right, I'm never afraid to say what I want.
Cake is important, but more important than that is the stuff that you work with people on, and the things that you teach, and the path that you're forging in terms of being a money mentor, a money strategist, and getting people to jump on board financial literacy as a matter of course, especially business owners, because business owners, big part of their business is bringing money in and creating a business and generating money and things like that. And unfortunately, a lot of us are really winging it, and a lot of us are not admitting to the things that we don't know, and we don't have those money conversations. And I think sometimes we kind of get the idea of rich mixed up with having stuff, and this is one of the big messages that you want to get out there to make people feel better about where they are now and where they could potentially be. Am I right?
You are. And I think the trouble is now, and for years, we live in a society where we are so pressured to buy things all the time, and we're pressured to, especially now with this online world. And I love the online world. Both my businesses have been built up because of the online world, and I love it. But there is so many sales and expectations out there, and if you're not living this perfect lifestyle where you're earning £1 million a month in your bikini in Hawaii on the beach sipping mimosas, you're somehow failing at life. And I think we need to go back to the basics of business, but also the basics of our own life as well, because, well, you know, my business, Let's Get Wealthy, I talk about money, but for me it's very much about designing your wealthy life, because my life is going to be very different to yours, because it has to be. I'm an individual, and it's taking away the noise from what we see online, and even when we go down the high street, and going, okay, what do I want with my life? How do I want my business to be running to give me that lifestyle? What values do I have? And then it's creating your conscious spending plan, the way that you're running your life around that. So it's all interlinked. But one of the biggest things that I also say in this is, because as you know, I'm a massive mental health advocate, and it's really important that when you go through this, you also look after yourself. But it's stripping, getting back from that noise and going back to what is it that you actually want, not what you're seeing online and what you think you should be doing. And we all do it. You know, Instagram's the worst one. These picture perfect homes and that. You know, you've got 2 children, but everything should be in perfect storage boxes, all labeled, all in nice chalk pen, and all pristine and all the rest of it. But the reality is that's just a photo you're seeing online. It's not the whole picture.
And the thing is, we've got to remember that the reality that we have is okay. There's literally nothing wrong with it. And the fact of the matter is, the vast majority of us have a very similar reality. Life is messy. Life is not perfect. We aim for creating order out of the chaos, because clarity is something that we need quite often to actually move forward. But if we accept the fact that there's not always going to be clarity, there is going to be a bit of a mess sometimes, a lot of the time, and we learn to navigate around that and make sure that our expectations are more aligned with what we need and want in our own lives, then I think we're going to be on a much calmer, happier, more pleasant road. And it's the road of life. It's that idea that your life ends up being the way that you want it to be, and it's not always the thing that you think it's going to be, or what you think you want, or that you can see other people having. It's about tapping back into what is true to you, and that's not that easy to do. Not that easy to do when we're so, distracted by everything. So yes, I think one of your superpowers is very much bringing the person back to what is here and now and important to them, not just in terms of money, but the way that you manage that money. And ultimately, money is an energy that you use as a resource in your life to create the kind of life that you want. So a lot of people feel very much shame and expectations and disappointment around, how their money is, especially in business. How specifically do you help with that? When you sit down with a client, how do you specifically help them to rein it in and bring it back to where they are now?
Well, so I have a method called the cash up method, and I go through that with people. And it's very much, so the basis of it is very much about being aware of your situation and where you are. Because like you say, a lot of people have a lot of fear and overwhelm of money. And this financial world is a lot of mansplaining, and it has been in the past very male dominated. A lot of people I speak to are put off by that. And that's in my accounting business, that's in my money mentoring business. The amount of business owners I speak to who have shied away from their numbers because they feel like they've been spoken down to, been put down, made to feel ashamed. And it's very much about going back to the basics and going, actually, don't worry about it, because there's a lot of jargon, but it's really easy to understand. But working on what it is, your goals, your personal goals, not your business goals. This is where people get mixed up. You need to be working on your personal goals, your personal values. What is it you want? Because it might be that you are trying, without even realizing it, you're striving to something huge that you probably don't actually really want. As I was saying a minute ago, it is just going back to what you want and then building your business up around that. So I do a lot of goal setting with people. I'm really deep diving into what they're thinking. But a huge thing, there's no point even looking at money until you do mindset work. The way we handle money is very subconscious. We don't realize it a lot of the time. And it is all from things we have heard, been told, seen when we were growing up. And it goes into your subconscious mind. We don't necessarily even realize our habits until we really actually go through them. This is an ongoing process. When you get over one habit, you will come on to another one. But it's looking at that and actually going through your mindset, working on that. So I normally do sessions on mindset work. And it's surprising what comes up. And that is really powerful, because you have to be able to be willing to look at your habits and accept them and change them to make changes with your money. And then I go through a conscious spending plan. If you've got debt repayment, and this is then where the practical steps come in to actually make those shifts.
Yes, absolutely. I do know a little bit about what you're talking about, because it's one of those things that I am obsessed with, and I spend a lot of time online watching YouTube shows and reading books and all sorts of stuff. I spend a lot of time doing that, and I absolutely get where you're coming from, because money psychology and money stories absolutely fascinate me, and I'm sure that they do with you as well. But I know that you work on a very practical level, because it's all very well sitting down and working on the money mindset, but once you kind of like got hold of that, it's what do you do next? And that's where a lot of your expertise comes from, because you've got a background in bookkeeping, you've been in the money world for a very long time, you've had a lot of mansplaining, you can translate the mansplaining, as it were, and make it more accessible to people. So I wanted to find out, what kind of people do you help the most?
So about 90% of the business owners I work with are ADHD entrepreneurs, and I actually call myself a money mentor for ADHD entrepreneurs. I've got undiagnosed ADHD, currently going through that process. Both my children are going through that process. It's a very long journey, and I seem to just connect with like-minded individuals, like we all do. And I think the trouble is, when you have ADHD, our mind does work very differently. We are all individuals anyway, but my mind races a lot. As you know, I'm normally on the 20th thing before I finish the first thing. And I think sometimes we procrastinate. We very much get stuck in the dopamine spending cycle effect, and can sometimes become, trying to think of the words, a little bit obsessive with certain things. And it is normal. It's ADHD traits. But also it can cause us to feel more deeply, and like that resentment, fearing what we're doing. You have other things that can come alongside it, sort of like dyslexia, dyspraxia, not understanding numbers. And this is what causes people to not look at them. And I can help with that, because like you say, I break things down. For me, it's all practical. If you want to work with a mentor or even a coach, it has to be practical. You don't want to sit and talk to someone for an hour. go away but not achieve anything. For me, I want to give you tangible results. You need to leave working with me with some kind of evidence that you have done something so you can move forward. And I can help do that by breaking things. I break things really simply. And if you don't understand it, I'll explain it again. It's about, I'm not judgmental, and everyone's situation is so different. And I'm about creating open money conversations in a non-judgmental way. It's important.
I think that's part of the problem, is that we don't know who to turn to when we want to talk about something very specific about money that we feel maybe shame or resentment or disappointment or frustration about. I know one of the biggest, when we met, I came to you because I had an issue that I wanted resolving. It was something that was going round and round and round and round and round in my head for a very long time, around business and whether to stay a sole trader or become a limited company. And I'd set up the Happy Business Club, and I've got another business as well. And I wanted to separate the two, and I thought this could be a particular way of, or specific way of doing it, where I could separate the two. And I knew once you started talking about the practicalities of it, that you would be the right person to go to. And I had spent a long time asking the same question and feeling like I was banging my head against a brick wall because I wasn't asking the right person the right question. And all of a sudden, Louisa appeared, and we had a conversation. And literally within 10 minutes of finishing that conversation, I was off registering my company as a limited company. And that made a massive difference to me. That had a real impact on me and the way that I actually then started to build my business and set goals. I separated it from my other business, and it wasn't separate at that point, really. And to have somebody in my corner who could categorically and expertly answer that one question that I had that would change the trajectory of my business was absolutely invaluable. And I know that you do this a lot with people, not just in terms of the decisions that they have to make, but also in terms of saving money. I mean, I know that you've worked with people and you save them. Literally, you sit down, you work it through the practicalities of it, and all of a sudden a bunch of money appears. And now who the hell doesn't want that in their business?
About 95% of my clients save minimum of £400 a month.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's not, and as I say, it's not always necessarily about the money side, Lou. I mean, yes, that is something we all want more money, but it's about realigning how you're using your money in your business and your personal money, so it's working for you, not against you. It's giving every pound a purpose. But that purpose needs to be aligned with what you actually want, and actually making sure that you're enjoying it, because we work so hard. Why don't you enjoy it? It's okay to go and treat yourself to a cake. It's okay to go and buy yourself a Costa if that's what you want, but it's also about being realistic. Okay, if you tell me that you are earning £1,000 a month, but you want to go and stay in the Ritz for 2 months, I'm going to be realistic to you and say, look, come on, rein it in a little bit, not yet, put it on your vision board. I'm not saying it won't happen, but it's about being practical and looking at what you have and going, right, how can you do this? What do you need to do? And it is like a deep dive into all of it. And I worked with someone last year, and she was in a really bad situation with a lot of debt, literally had debt collectors knocking on her door. By the end of our time working together, we had all of it sorted. I helped draft all the letters, got them sent. We worked on it really well. And she said to me, you're a money mentor, but you're more than that. And
You're a super woman. Super woman, that's what you are.
Don't always feel like it, but it is more than just talking about your money, and it is the way that you're running your life and your business and your wealthy life. It's so much more than the money, but the money is a big key aspect of it. But it's about looking at the overall picture. And I know you've
probably covered this quite a lot already, but we want specifics now. We want real specifics. Okay, so somebody who's watching this, they're a heart-led small business owner. They're running a business. They're trying to bring some money in. They're in a bit of a mess, in a bit of a pickle. What are the 3 key components that they really need to nail before they do anything else?
Take a deep breath is always the first one. So many people end up on tears in calls to me because they're embarrassed or they're ashamed of the situation. First thing I would say is you're not alone. I speak to a lot of 5 and 6-figure entrepreneurs, and nearly every single one is in a situation where they don't know how to resolve the situation. So take a deep breath and realize that it's okay to be feeling like that. It's normal. the biggest thing you have to do is know your numbers. You don't need to be good at maths. I will say you do not need to be good at maths, but you do need to know your numbers. That's your business numbers and your personal finances as well. Because if you're an entrepreneur, everything you bring in and do in your business impacts your personal finances. The more money you bring home, the more you're going to have in your pocket. It's that simple. Whether you're a limited company or a sole trader, obviously you just manage it a bit different as a limited company. So sit down and actually look at your figures. Stop shying away from it and actually sit down, write them down. Now, I work a lot on spreadsheets, but I actually work a lot on paper as well. And I would say to anyone, write it down on paper, because mentally you take note of it more. And actually open up your bank account and look at where you are and accept it. Stop feeling the shame. If you've got debt, accept it. It's okay, but work out a plan to pay it off. So definitely actually know your current financial position. If your business, you need to be looking at your services. Is there offers you can put out, one-off offers to bring in some extra cash? Are you doing too many services that you just don't enjoy? Realigning it to what you want to do. You're wanting more courses, you're wanting more one-to-one, or even if you've got a product service, what is it that's selling well? What is it that you want to be doing? And actually go through and then really sit down and create that. It sounds a bit cliche, but create that vision board. It doesn't have to be a vision board. It can be, I don't like vision boards. I personally write a checklist because I like lists.
Yep.
So write down what you want to achieve. It doesn't have to be going to the Bahamas. It doesn't have to be this huge thing. For me, I want to take my children to Scotland and Disneyland Paris this year. That's my 2 achievements. It's not huge. Yeah, okay, it's going abroad, but it's not massive things. It doesn't have to be these massive, wonderful, you don't need to change the world. It is what you want to do. And it might be that you just want to go and have a spa day to yourself, whatever it is.
Nice.
I know. Yeah, you've got to do it. So write it down and then actually look at your financial position and then make sure you have it focused so you know where you're going. And then do some mindset work, get a journal, write down how you're feeling about money, what your feelings are when you started spending, and actually take note of your habits. I am the first to admit, and I have admitted many times on my podcast and in my membership and on my online world, that I have a bit of an Amazon addiction. I love Amazon.
You've still got that Amazon addiction.
No, I am better at it, actually. Thank you. I've been working on this. So I do. And I love Amazon. And that's from COVID, because one click, it comes to your door. And I admit, like, I live in a small town. I'm quite lazy and I can't be bothered to travel. And actually, it's easier for me just to get it delivered to my door. But the worst thing about Amazon is you get notifications, and I've got a watch. It pops up on my watch when there's deals. So what I do to curb that, I know it pops up, it's really bad, goes, oh, that thing in your basket, and oh no. So I actually take it off now, or I pop the thing in the basket, but I walk away from it. And I have like a 2-day rule, unless it's something I know, like, it's flea things for the cats, whatever. Come on, it's a bit different. I mean, that's not for me. But if I get,
well, it is so you don't get fleas everywhere.
Oh, exactly. But if I go, the kids would like that. Oh, I like that. I go, okay, do we really need it at the moment? And I'll pop it in the basket. And 9 times out of 10, I've forgotten about it, because it's not really. And it's okay treating yourself, but it's being realistic about it as well. And then
a lot of that is just being intentional and putting some sort of little resistance, like delayed gratification in there. And that's just being an adult. That's just doing things in an adult kind of way, isn't it?
It's managing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But one thing I will say is, if you do not have an emergency fund set up, you need to get that. That is your top priority. You need to have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved up, a minimum, I would say 2 months. And that is because an emergency fund is what will give you the financial independence and financial freedom, so you can make the choices you want to make in life. You need to have that.
And I was going to say, if anybody wants to find out how they actually can do that, because it's entirely possible. And like I said right at the beginning, it doesn't matter how much money you've got in your bank right now. It is absolutely possible to create that emergency fund. If anybody wants to find out about that, then Louisa's your woman. You need to get in touch with her and have this conversation with her. Right. So I wanted to go back to back in time when you first started. How did you fall into do this money stuff?
Oh, well, so I've worked in finance since I was 15. It was very much a case of who you know, not what you know. I mean, my parents knew the assistant bank manager. I used to have Chinese around her house every Saturday, so I was quite fortunate. that I got that job very young. And yeah, I've only ever dealt in finance. My whole world is money, which is really, I love it. So, you know, it's that is my superpower. That's what I know. So obviously I worked in the banking industry for 5 or 6 years. I had my son, I fell pregnant at 19 and became a single mum and had him at 20. And then I literally sat there and I went, all I know is banking. I've only ever worked in the banking industry. And my fear was that if I ever lost that job, how would I support my son? Mm-hmm. So I messaged my sister and she went, oh, why don't you look at bookkeeping? And I thought, oh, I like books. I like reading. That sounds good. Signed up for a course. I didn't even read anything about it. Started going to evening college. I was a little bit shocked when it was to do with accounting and not working in a library with books. That is really sad. But, you know, I was sleep deprived. I was 20, very young.
That sounds like a sliding doors moment, really.
I know. I just sat there and went, I'm really bad at maths and I'm studying to be a bookkeeper accountant. But you know what? I did it and I loved it. I then went for a job where I went into an accounting role and I didn't actually get it, but they offered me a job as a PA and I accepted it. I don't think they were expecting me to. And that's where I met my husband. And then my eldest son was diagnosed with cerebral palsy at 18 months old. And I really struggled with the working the full time. And he had a lot of appointments. He became a bit of a pincushion because he had an alternative diagnosis called vanishing white matter disease. So at this time, they didn't actually know how long he would live for. And it wasn't actually till he was 5 that we got the official diagnosis. But because of that, I ended up looking for a part-time job. So I then went to the accountants as a trainee bookkeeper. And then going along the timeline a little bit more, obviously my husband moved in, we got married and we had another son together. So Jace was going through, my eldest son then went through a major operation to allow him to walk. And I'd been fighting the NHS for it for a few years. So we went through that and I went on sabbatical leave. And this is where the whole cake comes in, Michelle. I got really bored on sabbatical leave because I had a lot of time on my hands. So I set up a cake business. Not many people know this. I actually set up my own bakery business for people with allergens because I've got a nut allergy, and my dad is celiac, so I dealt with all of that, and it went really, really well. And then COVID came, lovely COVID, and pop-up bakeries were everywhere, and people were selling like 20 cupcakes for £5, and it just became unrealistic. So I shut that business down, and both my children were high risk in a way. So I wanted to step back from talking to people and just stay home. And then I was actually, I was due to head back to work, but I got made redundant from the accountants just as I was due back. And then I sort of went, I'm not going to be able to be employed. And I'd already had problems in employment because of all the appointments and things for my son. So I went, well, why don't I set up my own business? So I did. This was going back to, I'm going to say 3 or 4 years ago. It was bad. I don't know officially, but 3 or 4 years ago, I set up my bookkeeping business and it just kind of grew from there. And I only really started it to just do something. And then it was in 2020, I'm trying to think what year we're in, 2022, I did a course to do with passive income. And I always knew that I wanted to help people with managing their money. Yeah. As a bookkeeper or an accountant, as anyone probably knows, you do deal with the books and the paperwork and all that, but you don't really get into the nitty-gritty of money in that kind of regard. And I always knew that I really wanted to help people in more deep dive into their finances, but those conversations didn't happen. So I thought, well, why don't I set up a second business? So I did. I set up my Let's Get Wealthy business.
You are really a superwoman, Louisa. A lot of people don't know how you work, but me and you have had enough conversations in the past for me to know that when you focus on something, you go off like a rocket a lot faster than the vast majority of people would do. And it's almost like I'll speak to you in the morning, you say you're going to do this, and before you know it, by the end of the day, you've literally set everything up and it's already working. And that is absolutely phenomenal because I'm like at the other end of the scale. I have to think about it, do a bit, think about it, do a bit, think. And I feel like sometimes I actually work quite fast when I get a wiggle on. But it's nothing compared to you. So this 2-year timeline is actually what most of average people would actually be doing in 5, 6, 7 years over that timeline.
I think It's been a journey, Lo. It has been a journey along that. If you think there's been a lot of learning, like I spent the first year of my second business doing courses, studying, learning, because it's a whole new world to the other business. The other business was very in-person. It was word of mouth. It was quite quick and easy to set up and build. But this one is a whole new world. It was very online. It is very online. I do in-person days as well. Like I do one-to-one half-day VIP days to work with people in person, but it's very online. And because of working with people it's quite an intimate way. You're talking about your finances. It's building that trust. But it's also learning the whole marketing, learning how to present yourself online. And I get reels pop up from a year ago and I go, oh, I can't believe I did that. But it's a learning journey where I didn't have to do that with the other business. It was very different. And obviously, like last year, I merged with someone else in the accounting business to grow it. And so I'm now a co-director. So that's changed. And I'm concentrating more on this money mentoring and building it up because it makes the most impact. And there isn't a single person that I've worked with that has not changed their life. Every single person I've worked with has changed their life in some way, shape, or form, whether it's monetary, whether that's confidence, whether that's redesigning their business, however it is. I know that I do change lives, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So it's building it along there. But yeah, it's still a learning curve, and we all make mistakes at the end of the day and go, oh, I can't
think it always will be a learning curve, especially if you're full of good ideas like you are. So it's always going to be a learning curve, right? So what we want to really know is people are chomping at the bit, and they really need to get their money shizzle sorted out. And now they know you exist, Louisa. How can they work with you? Tell us how you work with people and what the offer is that you can actually help them with, and things like, how much it's going to cost them and what kind of investment it is and things like that. You tell me everything that they need to know.
So it depends really what you're looking for. So my top service then that I work with most people on is my 12-week one-to-one. And it is where we go through everything. And we do 6 sessions together, one-to-one, like over Zoom. Or if you're near me, you could do it in person, but most people aren't near me. And then you can talk to me in between WhatsApp, have questions whenever. So I like giving people a lot of support, and I'm very much about the support. So that one is where we go through everything, and I have like a structure to it, and we will cover everything. And by the end, you will leave in a very, very different situation to what you were in the beginning. Quite often what I do find with that one is the very last session kind of gets moved a bit, and then we will come back to one of the conscious spending plan, because they've made so many changes and alterations. That one, so that's my 12-week way that you can work with me. And I talk to people over Zoom or over the phone on that one, because the type of people I work with are people who want to actually make changes, who are willing to listen and actually put the things I'm saying in place. Because like anything, you can go and work with a mentor or a coach, but if you aren't willing to actually put the work in and make the changes and listen, you're not going to see the results. So I do actually talk to people and go through what they're looking for, what they're wanting, and that's the top offering that I do. Another way is that I do sort of strategy sessions. So I've got my 90-minute strategy sessions. Sometimes I do tailor the 12-week one, so it's a little bit less, but I've got the 90-minute strategy sessions where you can come and work with me. It's my chaos to calm ones, where you come along and we can look at mindset or your conscious spending plan, or it could be debt repayment. It's one particular topic, and we will go through that and actually work on that for those 90 minutes. And by the time you've left, you will have something tangible that you can leave with. So it'll be a proper plan, and you'll be more focused on where to move forward with that one. Again, on my website, louisawillcox.co.uk, is it .co.uk?
I'll pop the details in.
Yeah, I think it's .co.uk. Sorry, that's really bad. But louisawillcox.co.uk, I've got the details on there, how you can book that, just calendar link and go through it. And then, so if you really want to work with me in like a one-to-one way, that is how you can do it. But I absolutely love a supportive community, and I like giving a space where you can go and ask questions, where you have other people around you. And I think being an entrepreneur, it's really important we have that as well, and we have that space. So I've got my membership. which you can come into as well. And I do like an option where you could pay monthly with no times, no commitments, or you could pay for the year, which you get 2 months free if you do that. You can come in and you've got like, I do like a monthly Q&A, I do co-working sessions, so you can actually work on your business account. So when you get to self-assessment season,
that's very useful.
Yeah, a lot of people love it for that. You can ask me money questions, sometimes business questions. And then I do like this month I did a diary planning session. I get experts in to talk to you about different things. I've had someone come in to do with passive income. I had someone come in, which was absolutely golden, talking about different grants you can get and things as a business owner. I've had people talking about sales and the best way to utilize it. So I try to give you lots of different things that you can use in your business. So there's the membership side, but with that one, you don't get the one-to-one with me. It's group sessions.
Even though you don't get the one-to-one, I think the beauty of the membership is that if you're the kind of person that's got their head stuck in the sand about money and you really don't want to deal with it, it makes you deal with it in a very safe space. It makes you deal with it in a place where you're not going to be judged, where a lot of the other people have gone through the same thing and then can give you advice because they come out the other side. Where you actually sometimes you can get different experts on to tailor to specific subjects that people are cropping up again and again, and ultimately, if you've got a question, a burning question that needs answering, you open your mouth and you ask it, and it could be the one thing that actually turns on all the lights for you in your business and fires a rocket up your backside and allows you to do the thing that you've always wanted to do but have never thought you've been able to do, because something about a money block or a money issue is holding you back, because those are the issues that really do hold us back in our business. And I think from that perspective, it's an absolutely invaluable tool, and it's an absolutely invaluable community to be in. And you're in good company, you're in good company as well. I know this because I'm actually in the membership, and I crop up every now and again and have a little nosy at what's going on. And sometimes I sit there and I actually do my own accounts, which I absolutely hate doing, despite the fact that I look at my bank account every single day. But actually sitting down and putting the numbers in and making sure they're in the right place, for me, is a bit of a chore. And it's so much easier when you're actually sitting there and you're accountable to the people that are on the screen with you, and you're all doing it.
Well, I think it's important as well, because obviously if you're a small to medium business owner, you might not yet be in a state where you want to hand over to a bookkeeper. But obviously being a qualified bookkeeper, I've got that experience and knowledge. And actually I've got my business partner, she's in there as well. So she will answer businessy questions, like bookkeeping questions, if you're really stuck to. And it is just about keeping on top of your books, because so many people get to self-assessments and they panic, but actually you can have that sorted really in advance, and there's a lot in there to do really help you with that, a lot of like workbooks and things, but there's everything else as well. And I know one lady in there, she's like one of my biggest advocates, bless her. She has literally, since she's been in the membership, completely changed her whole business and life, and she's doing so much more, and she's really conscious of her money. And that's why I love that community. I mean, if you don't want to work with me one-to-one, you don't want to come into the membership, I do have a self-study course, Mastering Your Money, a step-by-step training guide, which again, like, is on my website, where I've got trainings where you can actually go through and learn all of this. And it goes through mindset, it goes through how to clear down debt, it goes through how to create a conscious spending plan, it goes through savings and investments, and it's all broken down into like 20 to 25 minute modules. So, because if you're like me, I don't concentrate more than half an hour usually. So you can actually listen to it, walk away, But after each one, I've tried to give you like action points on what you do. And that is a really great one if you just want to do it and actually not have that kind of support.
It's a great basic to actually become financially literate, is it? And I know the idea of being financially illiterate is like horrifying. Oh, we do know about money, but there's a lot around it, that if you become very conscious of how it works, you can then make adjustments to actually help with money flow, to help with how you feel about debt and where you put your money, and being more intentional about how you build your life using this resource that you have and that your business actually brings you. It is absolutely invaluable. Right, I've got one more question for you before we go off and I eat more cake. The question is, tell me about the whole coffee situation.
In what way?
Well, you told me that you're a coffee snob. Tell everybody
I am a
how
coffee
you
snob.
are a coffee snob.
I'm not even ashamed by it. I have a thing with coffee. So I actually, when I got my cake, my lovely cake, which I'm trying to slowly pick up, they had a coffee machine there, and I bought a coffee as well, and it was really disappointing to the point I thought I couldn't actually drink it. I like good coffee. This is one thing that I do treat myself on, and don't get me wrong, I like going out and getting a coffee, but even if you go to some of these bigger chains, usually the coffee isn't that great. So yeah, I am a bit of a coffee snob, and you definitely can tell when it's not good quality coffee as well. Everyone goes, you can. So I buy coffee beans and I grind my own coffee, and I actually cook, like have a percolator, and I cook it on the stove, sometimes cafetiere.
Every day?
Every day. I've got 3 or 4 different ways of making coffee. I've got this other machine. It's like this little, I think it's called a mocha machine or something. And it's a little espresso where you put the hot water in it, you put this thingy on, like a funnel, then the coffee in, then you screw it on, and it's got little bits that come up. You put the little espresso cups underneath, you put it on the stove, and it will heats up and goes through, and it makes really, really strong coffee. Because I do like good coffee. So yeah, every single day I grind my own beans and I make my coffee.
Yeah, well, it sounds like far too much work for me.
It's not. You just press a button and then you just put something else and leave it. It's not.
Well, I have a Tassimo, and I always say that if my house was on fire, the only thing that I would grab is my Tassimo, my coffee machine, because I absolutely love it so much. I wouldn't say I'm a coffee snob, but I think I probably am. And that Tassimo for me is the easiest thing. Click, click, there you go. Drink your coffee.
I'm not that keen on the capsule coffees.
No,
they've got a funny taste to them. But I don't drink it for the caffeine. Like everyone goes, oh, there's lots of caffeine. I actually drink a lot of decaf coffee.
Yeah.
I like the taste, but I really enjoy making the coffee and doing that. But it's also cheaper as well. Yeah. So I can buy like a kilogram worth of coffee beans for like £20, and that will do me a few months worth of coffee. Whereas if I was going to a coffee shop now, it's like nearly £4.50. Well, the last time it is, and I do go up north quite a lot. So for me, north is like Manchester, London, Birmingham, because I'm down in the southwest. So everything's north for me.
Well, maybe one day you'll come and live here too.
She keeps pressurizing me. She keeps sending me photos of houses for sale. I'm like, I can't. My husband doesn't want to. One day. And I actually stopped at a Services to get a coffee. And I know Services are expensive anyway, but it was like £5.20. And I was absolutely horrified. I was really shocked. And it wasn't that great either. So it's so yeah, I do grind my own beans.
Yeah. Maybe it's a good idea to be a coffee snob when you do enjoy your coffee and you do drink quite a lot of it. You have been a fabulous guest, Louisa, as always. We definitely need a catch up separate from this as well, because I need to find out exactly what's been going on in your life. I know there's been loads going on, and we just definitely need a catch up on that. So thank you so much for coming and telling people all about your cake, all about your expertise. And if anybody wants to get in touch with Louisa, I'm going to pop the links down below. Thank you so much, darling.
Thank you for having me.
That was the amazing Louisa Willcox, a very good friend of mine, and I think she is absolutely brilliant. What this woman does is change lives. And she has really helped me in the past as well in terms of changing my money mindset and how I bring value to the world. And one of the things that I bring value in is working one-to-one with clients. And I don't work with very many people one-to-one at all. So if I'm the kind of person that you want on your side, and very much like Louisa, I give full support. I'm there at the drop of a hat, and I am one of the biggest motivators and energy builders that you will ever get to meet. And that's not my words. That's the people that I worked with words. Then you better get in touch with me, and we'll see if we can sit down and have a chat about how you want to change the world, build your dreams, and actually make shit happen in your business. So that's enough from me today. And I will see you next week with another epic guest on Experts Eating Cake.